Going on, AMC Nation? It's your boy Johnwicksnipin, and today I've got a really interesting video for you. I've gone to a Fidelity branch to ask some of these tough questions that are on our minds. And as you may have expected, it didn't go very well. And at the end of it, I basically told the guy to fuck off. So I've got that for you today. You're going to want to watch it to the end because you're going to see how weird the conversation actually was and how it ends. And basically, him and I tiptoeing each other as kind of like, I know what you want me to say, but I'm not going to say it. And I'm like, you're not saying it. And I'm asking you a question, and you're kind of like giving me a different protocol answer. But before I get into that part of the video, I want to give a shout out to the Apefather because yesterday he stumbled across a couple of my videos where I randomly went out in the public in my area, and I was in search of AMC investors to see, why are they do they know why they're holding the stock? And if they don't know, I kind of informed them to the best of my abilities. So Apefather found those videos, and he made a video basically to his viewers saying, hey, listen, this is the type of stuff we need to do. This guy Johnwicksnipin went out and he informed investors, and I really appreciated that. I thought that was really cool by the Apefather. So I know a lot of us don't give him a lot of credit because he just does things a different way, and that's cool. It's his channel. He has the right to drop his content however he wants to. But again, if you haven't seen those videos where I've actually interviewed people live, I suggest you watch those so you can see what it really is like out there, because everything else is just YouTube at this point. We don't really know the public. It's either the comments in the comment section or whatever a YouTuber says. So again, thank you, Apefather. Let's get into this Fidelity video. Okay, so I'm here in the actual branch. There's not very many people here. I'll give you some kind of shows that I'm actually at Fidelity. If you see that cup, that's a Fidelity cup. I've asked them to put an office privately. There's nobody here other than people that greet you and kind of just assist you with basic things. There's nobody here really to personally face-to-face talk to and ask the questions that we want to know. So they've set me up with someone on on the phone. I've got them on hold right now. I'm going to take them off hold, and I'm going to ask them some questions that you guys want to know. So stay tuned. Hi, yeah, sorry to keep you holding. So I own AMC stock, as you can see in your system, and just some questions because there is a lot of stuff being put out there on social media and stuff like that, and I kind of want to know because I've invested a lot of money, for my personal financial income, that I make, and I want to make sure that this is a smart move for me.
Okay. Yeah, and I completely understand that. And were you wanting to get more information on possible strategies? What exactly were you wanting to? Because Fidelity.com, we can read news articles on Fidelity.com. You also can go to our learning center and see exactly our position on that as well. What information were you looking to get?
Are you able to provide currently what the short interest is?
1 second. For, and are you referring to margin trading?
I'm sorry, can you?
In short, you will have to have, and you're referring to trading on margin in order to sell short. So what I'll have to do, because this is level 2, I'll have to get you over to our margins trader. They definitely will be able to assist you.
Margins trader. Okay.
Yep, no problem. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so
how can I help you out today?
I'm an owner of AMC stock, and there is a lot of information out there regarding dark pools and synthetic shares and failures to deliver, and that the SEC just came out last week to put some regulations in for transparency regarding shorting stocks and stuff like that, and how all that is working. And a lot of this AMC community kind of puts out a lot of information, and I'm just trying to protect my interest and figuring out and asking certain questions to kind of see if like the storyline aligns with reality. So first and foremost, I guess my first question is, how are shares continuously being sold if apparently the float is owned and held?
Let's see. So I do see on these shares. You're saying how they're sold in shared? Is that correct? What you're saying, sir?
Like, how are shares still being sold to anybody who wants to buy if there's no real shares? The float has been basically traded many times over and held by the community.
Let me see. So taking Peter's share. So I'm making a bet. Let me see. Not familiar with that. Give me one moment, sir, so I can look at this.
Okay. I'm not really sure why they transferred me. You're now the third person that I have been transferred over to, but let's just try to get some of my questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I apologize to hear that you've kind of been bounced around the pinball machine today. Hopefully I'll be the best person to help you out with this. Let's go ahead and get all your questions up front. Fill me in. What's going on?
Okay, so I'm an crazy AMC stockholder. So I'm pretty sure at this point everybody knows who these investors are. So I'm going to ask some questions because I'm trying to get a little clarity with respects to a lot of the information that's put out there, specifically on social media. I am a vlogger and I do have an audience that I'd like to provide some clearer answers. I am invested in AMC. I do own them through your brokerage. So I guess I kind of want to sort out through some of these. I can't call them rumors because they haven't really been confirmed or denied. So my first question, I guess, would be: is there like a such thing as like a dark pool?
What do you mean by a dark pool? That's not a term I'm very familiar with.
A dark pool is, I guess, apparently somewhere where like big institutions go to trade stocks, specifically in this case AMC, where it doesn't get immediately reported to the market.
That would be known as a private placement sale. Private placements are well outside of the realm of public trading.
Okay. So just a little bit different way of calling it, but you understand what it is that I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that people can trade securities. You can do it from securities in reserve. You can do it from securities outstanding. There's a lot of different trade types that you can do, and if institutions have purchasing abilities and there's different share classes, etc. Yeah, it could as a typical trade within the tapes, right? So yeah, there are different types of trades that can be placed. Is my final answer.
Gotcha. Okay. So is there currently a large short interest regarding AMC? Is it a heavily shorted stock?
When it comes to volumes of securities, that is information that should be publicly available. I would recommend looking into possibly more technically advanced softwares that some brokerages offer. Fidelity has our own proprietary software known as Active Trader Pro. We do provide very detailed information regarding specific stocks that you are interested in researching through that platform. That's not information I currently have. And what is defined as a large volume of shorted shares is somewhat subjective. It's not quite like a ranking of blue chip, large cap, small cap, big cap, all that kind of stuff, based on just volume alone, because there may be options placed against them. There could be different techniques being used that would involve short against the box, possibly, different things like that.
Okay. I've heard a lot that there are a lot of synthetic shares. Is that something that Fidelity can confirm or deny, that there's actually synthetic shares or shares that are kind of created in order to just keep the short position afloat and not let the price point that we all, the public, see not get out of control?
price control of markets can vary in technique depending on how the shares are issued, types of shares, etc. Can be corporate actions to increase or decrease price of shares. Share price and control of that can be limited, due to regulation, etc. So, when you're looking at share prices and share fluctuations within market, looking at volume, possibly new shares, treasury shares that have been issued, secondary issuing, stock splits, stock mergers, price can be not manipulated, but controlled to an extent.
Gotcha.
Synthetic shares, that's not really something I'm sure about. I know there's different classes of shares between different businesses. As far as synthetic shares go, that kind of sounds like it's not something that I'm super familiar with. Let's put it that way.
But you can't confirm or deny it, is what you're saying.
There's different types of shares that trade, yeah. But as far as synthetic shares, it's not a class of shares.
Fidelity is aware of the SEC rulings recently, correct, for transparency?
If you're looking for information on where Fidelity stands with recent market activity, etc., I would recommend using our website. All Fidelity opinions are published on the website. I'm not authorized to be providing opinions on behalf of Fidelity.
Okay, so you're not authorized on that. All right. Let me just think here. So can you please explain to me how a stock is actually loaned out? Like what is Fidelity's guidelines for allowing someone to borrow a share from another?
So that would all come down to margin agreements on file, which it looks like you do have margin on file. When you sign a margin agreement with Fidelity, you allow us to commingle shares that you may own in Tithe Cash with other accounts, meaning they go into the Fidelity reserves, at which point if someone would like to sell short a position, it may or may not be coming from someone else's account. Fidelity also does reserve shares within its own reserves that may be borrowed.
Do we have the ability to refuse that or not allow that to be done, or is that something that maybe just people don't really read, and once they've agreed, they don't really have the right to say don't loan my shares out?
Comes down to the type of trading that you're doing. Commingling is a necessary part of margin because you will need to be borrowing other people's shares if you plan on shorting shares, right? It's just kind of part of the ball game. If you don't want your shares commingled, don't trade margin. It's kind of the whole thing. The margin agreement is available online if you're looking for more specific information. That's all lawyer jargon, et cetera, if you'd like to pick through that for the specifics.
But bottom line is, if you have a margin account, you've basically agreed to allow your shares to be loaned out.
It's a little bit more complicated than that, which is why I referenced you to the actual margin agreement. And reading that, there's a few main bullet points in there that are highlighted and bolded. Those would be a good place to start with understanding exactly how margin works and why this is something that comes with margin.
Okay. I guess my next question is going to be, if there's an assumption that there's just shares that are being created to keep, and I know you're answering it in a certain way to kind of just protect yourself, Fidelity, and everything like that, but I'm just really trying to get down to the bottom of some of this information that I pick up online. And I understand you're not supposed to use social media as your guide for buying and selling or holding stocks or anything like that, but it's just so much of the same story being put out there that it's basically believable at this point. And one of the things that it is being said is that there's just countless amounts of shares that were created falsely, I guess in order to kind of keep the amount of shares high, so that the demand is not so high, and there's just not enough shares for anybody to purchase, therefore driving the price extremely high. Does that make sense, what I just said to you?
So, yes, it does. What you're describing here is diluting shareholder equity. That can be done in a couple different ways, right? You can, and that, like you mentioned, can be involving of the amount of securities in market that are currently available, et cetera. Volume, right? Mm-hmm. What I would recommend doing is I would recommend doing some research into secondary and add-on offerings. In order to have more stocks traded on a public market, they need to be registered. You can't have ghost shares. If you want ghost shares, I'd recommend looking into penny stocks if you want some really risky stuff with no information and very little requirements to be filed on an exchange. That would be what a penny stock is, which is why they're so much more risky, is there's very little information. On a company such as AMC, very large, heavily traded security, randomly applying more securities to a offering and then diluting shareholder equity, that would be something that should require a shareholder's vote, or at least you are allowed to vote on those things. Anything, for the most part, that dilutes shareholder equity, shareholders should have the right to vote, either by proxy or in person. That is a FINRA regulation. So when it comes to random shares being issued and whatnot, I don't know of a process that they would be able to use to do that. If they are doing that, it's something that I'm unaware of, and it certainly is not within any FINRA guidelines that I'm aware of. So my suggestion, read up on offerings, read up on how IPOs, secondary offerings, and add-on offerings work, and why that's something that shareholders are typically allowed to vote on if given within the perspectives. So yeah, looking at additional offerings, secondary offerings, et cetera, would be where I'd recommend looking into kind of possibly debunking that information if that's what you're looking to do.
So you wouldn't say then that there's ghost shares or fake shares with respects to AMC?
I don't know what a ghost share is.
Oh, I thought that's what the terminology you used, like when referencing like over-the-counter stocks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's some really interesting stories that you can read about OTC, pink sheet, penny stock stuff about, dudes in Taiwanese basements registering businesses to trade on an OTC market and then just going completely missing in action. There's some weird stuff that happens on the penny market. As far as a large company like AMC, I don't know. I mean, it would be news to me.
So again, you can't really confirm or deny that.
I have a question for you, actually. Is this an interview?
Yeah.
Okay, I do not consent to this information being shared. This information is for your educational purposes only.
Okay.
If you're looking to educate yourself on securities information, there are great classes you can take. The Fidelity website offers a lot of resources. I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of Fidelity or its views on these things.
Okay, then I guess I got the wrong agent at this point, because some of the other guys have basically told me, yeah, I can do this, I can interview somebody, I can record it, and I don't think I've gotten clarity in some of the questions that I've asked you. I think you've gone very protocol in your answers. I wish I would have interviewed and recorded the first agent that I had, because she gave me a lot clearer answers. You've gone down other roads that I don't even know, like I don't even think I was asking that question. But I guess at this point, I'm not going to waste any more of your time or my time. I'm just going to try to find somebody else that can better answer these questions, because I'm sorry, unfortunately, you did not answer my questions in a manner of that I can understand, or there really wasn't any answer. You just kept pointing me in different directions and different literature and stuff like that, and I'm not getting anything here in the 30 minutes that I've been on this call. So I'm gonna end it now. I appreciate. Actually at one of your branches. I'm not at home doing this. I'm literally at one of your branches, and one of your representatives put you guys on the phone with me, and I got to you through multiple transfers, and you've been the person to finally, I guess, take as much time as you've taken. But like I said, there's really no need to go forward. You're not interested in being interviewed or recorded. I'll respect that, and I'll move on. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Bye-bye. That was uncomfortable, and I'm sorry, but I am going to post your ass, because there is no reason for me not to post your ass. Guys, I really tried to show up at a branch live so that I can give you guys a little bit more information, but as you can see, they're playing fucking tiddlywinks with me. I wish I would have recorded an earlier rep that was a female in Missouri, because she was really answering my questions. That's why I came personally to the branch, because I'm like, I felt so good about that call that I was like, oh, okay, so these guys will answer my calls, answer my questions in person, just like that person. I just didn't want to walk in here and be turned away. I wanted to call first and say, can I do this? Can I interview you guys? And that person says, this is a free country. You can interview anybody. Maybe they might not want to be on video, which is fine. I haven't put anybody's face on video. It was only their voice. But as you can see, that gentleman was he's part of the fucking problem, I think. So I'm going to end this video now, but I'm not going to stop looking for these answers, and I'm not going to stop calling Fidelity or showing up to a branch where somebody can meet me. Maybe I'll set up a meeting, because I came here and they said the people that I really need to talk to are not on site anymore at any of the locations due to COVID, yada yada yada. I guess they're all based on phone conversation or Zoom conversations, but nonetheless, I really didn't get much accomplished here. That guy was just kind of like trying to throw me off track and point me in other directions just to play it safe. That obviously throws up a red flag for me. If you can't easily answer these questions, then we must be pushing certain buttons that you don't really want to talk about. So I'm going to end it there. Johnwicksnipin, thanks for watching, and I'll be